Hello and welcome back. And today we're going to talk about step 4 in incorporating AI into our classes. Because once students have learned to begin with their own ideas, interrogated the responses, and traced all the claims back to real sources, the next step becomes essential. They must then transform what the AI produces into something that is their own, unmistakably their own. This is where learning either deepens or just disappears altogether. Um, because there's a huge and a profound difference between just editing something and transforming it. Editing is just, we've seen it, right? It's just cosmetic. Just changes something that's on the surface, swap a few words around, or rearrange some sentences. Maybe even the structure gets cleaned up. But the underlying thinking remains borrowed from the AI. Transformation is more cognitive. It requires the student to absorb the idea, wrestle with it, interpret it, and express it through their own lens or their own mental framework. When this transformation happens, the student is no longer repeating, they're integrating, and again, making something their own. Without this step, students just remain downstream from whatever the machine or the AI is giving them. But with it, they move back upstream into that ownership that we continually have been talking about. This means that we can't just accept AI assisted work at face value, even when it's accurate and well written. We know this. Students should be required to rewrite key sections. In fact, most of the AI writing they need to put into their own words. They need to explain the ideas without looking at the AI output, and connect those ideas to examples, their own experiences, or arguments that really originated from their beginning to look at the topic or look at the assignment, really from their own perspective. Now, one of the most powerful exercises that we can do is to simply just ask students to close the AI, close the window out, explain the concept, whatever it is, again, from their own memory. Not perfectly or formally, just honestly. What survives this exercise? It's what they actually understand. And what disappears was never theirs and they never understood it to start with, right? Again, we know this. Now, this step reestablishes one of the oldest truths that we hold in education. Learning is not just simply exposure. Learning is reconstruction. The mind must take something apart and put it back together again, um, in their own way. Uh, this transformation also exposes something students rarely see on their own. AI outputs tend toward generality. We've all read this, right? It might be structurally sound, but it's really often just emotionally neutral, no real perspective. It lacks the friction of that lived experience from the student, that specific individual in the way they think, the small asymmetries that really signal a human wrote this, human authorship. When students transform the material, those asymmetries, they return. Their voice returns. And maybe most importantly, their agency returns. This is the moment where AI stops being just a substitute and it becomes more of a catalyst. Because the goal was never to simply produce, clean prose that's easy to use. The goal was to produce uh, the mind of, or the mind capable of producing that clean prose, right? If step 1 protects authorship, step 2 protects judgment, and step 3 protects truth, step 4 protects that ownership. And without that ownership, students may submit work, might even appear to be good work, but they'll never become good thinkers. And that distinction, as we're always talking about, is the entire point That's what we're looking for. All right. As always, I got a much more detailed version up on the stack. I'll talk to you later with step 5.